Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to my next Pokemon sets video. Now do not worry, as I will be hopefully completing all the X and Y analysis Pokemon, getting onto the Megas and everything like that in the future, but as of right now, there are a few Pokemon that are already released that I do want to talk about that got some really interesting buffs this generation, and I think allow for them to play very differently than they have been able to be used before. So we're going to kick this whole thing off by starting with Kricketune. So to start things off, Kricketune is a mono bug-type Pokemon introduced in a Generation 4, and is possibly one of the coolest and most recognizable Pokemon cries in the game, which, I've been working on my impression, sounds something like... As for its abilities, though, the first one that it gets is known as Swarm, which is an ability that I can't believe I just did that. Anyways, is an ability known as Swarm, which increases the power of bug-type moves by 1.5 when you're at a third of your health or less, and its second ability is known as Technician, which is its hidden ability that increases the power of moves that are 60 base power or less by 1.5, meaning that if it were to go for a move such as Bug Bite, which is 60 base power, it's within the range that Technician would activate, and thus would bring it up to 90 base power, and then you take into account Stab after the fact. And this can be done with a number of moves that Kricketune learns, allowing it to get a lot more mileage out of some of its weaker attacks. But as for its stats, Kricketune has base 77 HP, 51 defense, and 51 special defense, meaning that overall this Pokemon is pretty frail and not able to take attacks very easily. However, if you do want to invest into its defenses, I would recommend putting everything into just one defense instead of trying to be a more mixed wall. Because of how low its defense stats are, you're really not going to get a lot out of mixing your defenses, but you will be able to maybe effectively wall one type of attack if you are just maxing one defense and just ignoring the other. But as for its attacking stats, Kricketune has base 85 physical attack, which is actually pretty great, allowing this Pokemon to do some really good damage with its physical attacks, but its special attack is only base 55, meaning that you won't really be able to get a lot of mileage out of this type of it, or out of those types of attacks with Kricketune, which is a little bit unfortunate, but most of the good moves that it learns are physical, so you probably are going to be running with that anyway. And lastly, Kricketune has base 65 speed, which is a little bit on the slower end of things, but it still can be invested in to allow you to outspeed other Pokemon if you so desire to. But with that, let's take a look at the first set that I have for you in this video. So for the first set that I have for you all, we're going to begin by giving Kricketune an Impish Nature to increase its physical defense and lower its special attack, and for the ability, we're going to be going with Technician. As for the EVs, we're going to put 248 into its HP to give it its highest HP number possible. That is also odd because this Pokemon is weak to Stealth Rock, so we don't want to have an HP number that's divisible by 4, which is the reason why we have the odd number. And then we're also going to max its physical defense with 252 EVs into the physical defense stat, and then put the remainder EVs into its speed to make it just a bit faster. And for the item, we're going to be going with Leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But as for the moves, this whole set is designed around Perish Trapping, which is something that Kricketune was actually not able to do previously, even though it did have access to Perish Song. But the reason why this is now possible is because in the 6th generation, Kricketune is able to have access to a new move known as Infestation, which is a move that works similarly to moves like Whirlpool and Fire Spin, and that it traps your opponent and they can't escape, and at the end of every turn they take a little bit of damage. Now the reason why this is so effective with Perish Song is because once you trap them with Infestation and then go for Perish Song, they can no longer switch out to save their Pokemon from dying once the Perish Song is active. And the way you make use of these two moves in combination with each other is once you get the Infestation and the Perish Song up, you go for Protect twice to stall out 2 turns of Perish Song, and then on the following turn you switch out for that last turn so that you don't die, but your opponent is still trapped because of Infestation, and they are able to then feint on the following turn, meaning that you are very easily able to take out pretty much any Pokemon if you are able to successfully get off a couple of Protects and Perish Trap them very easily. Now, another great thing about this set, along with being able to Perish Trap pretty much anything, is that you are able to actually give this set some utility as well. Now, keep in mind that you can't trap ghost types this generation, just figured I'd throw that out there anyway, just to make sure we all are aware of this, but for the last move slot, you can either run Sticky Web, which is a very, very powerful entry hazard introduced in Generation 6, which allows you to lower your opponent's speed every single time they enter the battle, and it's very fortunate that Kricketune does learn this, giving it a lot more utility than it initially had. But you can also feasibly run Knockoff as well, which is a move that got a huge buff this generation, and allow you to very easily deal some good damage to your opponent from the dark type side, and also get rid of your opponent's items, making them able or unable to really do what their set intends them to do as effectively, such as getting rid of leftovers on a bulky Pokemon, or life orb or a choice item on an offensive Pokemon. Anything like that, Knockoff can get rid of it, but also Sticky Web can work really well too for lowering your opponent's speed. But overall, this set is just designed to perish trap things and also have the utility of either setting up a hazard or getting rid of your opponent's items while doing some damage in the process. Now, as I said before, you are better off investing fully into one defense stat, so if you do want to run a special defensive version of this Kricketune, you can just flip over to this slide right now and you see the only things that really change are that you give it a careful nature to increase its special defense and lower its special attack, and then put 252 EVs into its special defense as opposed to its physical defense this time around to make it as specially bulky as it can possibly be. But overall, this is just a really fun set for Kricketune and something that it really benefits from having now in 6th generation, which it never had before. Up next, I have a more offensive set for Kricketune to make use of. So we're going to start this one off by giving it an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack and lower its special attack, or a Jolly Nature to increase its speed but lower its special attack. And for the ability, we're again going to be going with Technician. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into its physical attack to max that out, 4 into its special defense, and then 252 EVs into its speed to max that out as well. And keep in mind that if you are using this Kricketune set over level 50 Wi-Fi, you are actually going to want to swap out those 4 special defense EVs and put them into your HP to make sure that you do have an odd HP number at level 50, because level 50 stats are weird. So you're going to want to just do that because, as I said before, this Pokemon is weak to Stealth Rock, so you are going to want to have an odd HP number. But as for the item, there are actually 4 possibilities to go with on this set. The first being a Focus Sash to guarantee that you can live a hit if you are at full HP, a Life Orb to increase the damage of all of your attacks while also taking a 10% recoil, to just keep that in mind because it is a little bit of a drawback when using this item, an Expert Belt to increase the damage of all of your super effective attacks, or Leftovers as a way to allow Kricketune to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But no matter what you go with, you can still make use of this set very effectively. But the first move that we're going to be going with on this set is going to be Sticky Web, which is again going to allow us to set up that really awesome hazard that'll lower your opponent's speed every single time they enter in the battle, provided they're obviously not levitating or a flying type Pokemon. But the reason why this is so effective is because Kricketune is not the fastest Pokemon in the world, so running Sticky Web can actually allow you to run a very effective offensive set, because once the Sticky Web is up, Kricketune will then technically be faster than a lot of your opponent's Pokemon, allowing it to do a lot more damage as a offensive Pokemon. So the first move that we're going to be going with on the set is going to be Bug Bite, which is obviously going to be boosted by Technician up to 90 base power, making it your most powerful bug type move because this makes it more powerful than X-Scissor is. And then for type coverage, we're going to be going with either Aerial Ace, Brick Break, or Power Up Punch in our third move slot to give you a little bit more type coverage, and in the case of Power Up Punch, actually give you a move to boost your physical attack. Now the great thing about Aerial Ace is that this will also be boosted due to Technician up to 90 base power, and Brick Break is the stronger option as far as fighting type moves are concerned, and it can also be used to break screens, which is really nice. And if you do want to use this Kricketune as a lead because of the Focus Sash, just to guarantee you set up Sticky Web, that could be a really great option to get rid of screens if your opponent wants to use them as well. But Power Up Punch is also especially effective on Kricketune because it is actually boosted by Technician, making its 40 base power actually be boosted up to 60, making it a little bit more viable of an actual attacking move while also boosting your attack every single time you hit an opponent with it. But for the last move on the set, we're going to be running Knockoff, which is going to be an absolutely fantastic dark type move for this Pokemon to make use of, that is also boosted in power when your opponent does have an item, and I'm pretty sure 999 out of 1,000 times your opponent will have an item, so Knockoff is going to be a better option than Night Slash, even though it also does learn Night Slash. But also keep in mind that it's only 5 less base power than Night Slash anyway, and you have the added bonus of getting rid of an opponent's item, so I think Knockoff is the superior dark move overall here. But overall, you do get quite a bit of type coverage on this Kricketune while also being able to set up a hazard and potentially allow you to then outspeed a ton of opponents on your opponent's team once their speed is lowered by Sticky Web, and allow Kricketune to actually do some really solid damage as an offensive Pokemon. And then lastly, I have more of a dedicated boosting physical attacking set for Kricketune to make use of. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Jolly Nature to increase its speed but lower its special attack, and then we're going to be going with the Technician ability yet again. As for the EVs, we're going to put 4 into its HP this time to actually give you an HP number divisible by 4, which is going to come into play when trying to activate your Boosting Berry. and then we're going to max its physical attack with 252 EVs into that, and its speed with 252 EVs into that. And like before, we are going to have to make a little bit of a change at level 50 because 50 stats are weird. So at level 50 over Wi-Fi, you're going to want to actually remove those 4 HP EVs and put them into your special defense to make sure that you have an HP number divisible by 4, which is what I mean by swap 4 HP EVs for special defense at level 50. And then for the item, we're actually going to be making use of a Salac berry to allow Kricketune to boost its speed by 1 stage once this berry activates. Now, to help you along in the activation of this berry, as well as protect you from unnecessary damage and statuses, the first move on the set is going to be Substitute to allow you to get rid of a fourth of your health, put up a substitute, and allow that to take damage as opposed to Kricketune taking damage. Now this is also meant to be used in combination with the potential Stealth Rock damage you're going to be taking. So say for example you take Stealth Rock damage, and then you go for a sub, and then you set up behind the sub, and then your opponent breaks the sub, you go for another sub, and then now you're at 25% of your health or less, which is when the Salac berry will activate thanks to the 4 HP EVs or lack thereof at level 50, and then your Kricketune will be fully boosted and ready to sweep your opponent if it's able to. But for the boosting moves on the set, we're actually going to be choosing between either Power Up Punch or Swords Dance on the set. Now, Power Up Punch obviously is an effective attack that will allow you to not only hurt your opponents, but also boost your attack in the process. But Swords Dance is a little bit better of a boosting move because it boosts your physical attack by 2 stages, as opposed to Power Up Punch boosting your attack by only 1. However, going with Power Up Punch gives you the option of having more type coverage overall when using this Kricketune. So really, it's if you want a greater boost quicker, or if you want a more reliable attacking move, which as I mentioned before will also be boosting your physical attack and be boosted by Technician up to 60 base power from its usual 40 base power. But for your main stab attack, again, we're going to be going with Bug Bite because of how it is stronger than X-Scissor with Technician. And then for the last move on the set, we're going to be going either with Knockoff for a very powerful Dark type move, Aerial Ace for a very powerful Flying type move, which is also boosted by Technician, or Brick Break for a stronger Fighting type move, which is pretty much meant to go, or to be used if you don't use Power Up Punch. But if you do use Power Up Punch, I would either choose between Knockoff or Aerial Ace. But either way, this is just another effective way to try and run a boosting Kricketune that really seeks more to boost your own stats as opposed to lowering your opponent's, or unlike the previous set, which, you know, made use of Sticky Web to do that. But overall, this is just a very effective attacking set for this Pokemon to use, and something that can turn it into a very powerful and very threatening bug type. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video, so I wanted to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed everything, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.